Now, before we begin this video, I would just like to say that happy May the 4th for all of you Star Wars fans, or to be Star Wars fans, and I sincerely hope that you have a great May the 4th. Now, before we begin again, I will be having either some Republic Commando or Battlefront 2 gameplay on the screen for the duration of this video review, and of course be warned that there will be spoilers for episode 1 of The Bad Batch, which is titled Aftermath, which to me is kind of a self-explanatory title in and of itself. And to start things off with, I would just like to jump off or move along the thought of the title itself, which signals right off the bat that this is the direct continuation of the Clone Wars, or the season 7 of the Clone Wars, which of course overlaps with Revenge of the Sith. You can actually see that with the title and the logo itself, that it changes from Clone Wars to Bad Batch. But I would like to talk about the technical and kind of objective aspects firsthand, as I think they are kind of the shorter version or the less detailed parts of this review. And first of all, the 70-minute runtime for the episode was a bit strange or even just unusual to begin with for me. But the episode itself was interesting all around, and this story or just episode, in my honest opinion, needed time to read and set up things and to be longer than the usual 20 to 22 minute episodes which we would usually get in the Clone Wars. It's basically like the Clone Wars movie, if you have seen that back in the day. But the show seems to be following in the footsteps of the Clone Wars in not just one aspect, but when it comes to the all-round just high quality of animation and production value as well. And to me, this is what I would expect from Lucasfilm Animations and what I expected from the Clone Wars. And if you have seen the later episodes or the later seasons of the Clone Wars, you know what I'm probably talking about here. Or if you have just seen the trailers for the Bad Batch, you are getting what you see on these trailers when it comes to just the production value of the whole show. And now when it comes to the action scenes, this was something that I have highlighted in one of my videos leading up to the Bad Batch, just talking about the show and the expectations that I had for it. The action scenes themselves were also pretty engaging, especially given that the team dynamic of the Bad Batch is on the forefront with the show itself, of course. Although to me, they weren't necessarily the highlight of the episodes, but they were solid nevertheless. But now moving into the more juicier stuff and details about this episode, I thought that starting off the episode with Order 66 was a rather bold move, especially that now we see it kind of from the clones' perspective, the clones who were not affected by the inhibitor chips. And the Order 66 scene sets up kind of the series moving forward and the conflict of it, I thought, rather well, giving you the premise that Crosshair wants to follow orders, and the rest of the Bad Batch, especially Hunter, defy those very orders that are now coming from the Empire, not the Republic, and that they don't agree with the orders themselves, therefore they don't carry it out. And the show, or the first episode, did something surprising to me, which was connecting and setting up the stories and the canon, which is further connecting it and setting it up. I mainly mean, of course, Caleb, who is going to be Kanan Jarrus in Star Wars Rebels, and the inclusion of Saw Gerrera in the story, which, by the way, make a whole lot of sense when we're just talking about those characters and the fact that they would be part of this show or the story itself. But one of the more important aspects, just intriguing aspects that the show presented in the first episode was that the Republic was turning into the Empire. And to me, this is a compelling premise as well. One that I would like to see more of explored in either in the show or just the movie format in general, especially if we get to see the change of the guard at first hand when it comes to just seeing this from either from the clone perspective, as of course they are being phased out, or just the civilian perspective in a sense. And of course, as I mentioned before, the outphasing of clones was also something which the show or the episode tackled, which wasn't really explored beforehand either, because if you have only watched the Star Wars movies, for example, what happened to the clones, or are they clones in episode 4, the Stormtroopers, I mean, and there wasn't really any clear explanation for kind of the average fan, if you will, or the not hardcore fan, but now we are even given that they are phasing out the clone troopers as well. The show also presented the contrasting sides of the war itself, or kind of the civil war, and just signaling to you that perspective really matters in these conflicts. And this was of course the case with the Clone Wars beforehand as well, and it's nice that we get to see more of this kind of moral gray area or just questioning of moralities and status quos, which stays true to the kind of soul of Star Wars. And of course, we get to see more of Saw Gerrera's freedom fighters on Onderon, which was a really great nod to begin with. And my kind of prediction for that is that the story would probably revolve around kind of that aspect and the fact that the Bad Batch is learning more about the galaxy and just making choices of how they can either help the galaxy or hurt the galaxy, in a sense, throughout the several perspectives of the people that Dave will meet. As of course, we know that Dave will meet with Rex. They will fight off against Zagarian slavers, if I'm correct. So the story seems to be a compelling one at that. And my kind of prediction, which is kind of theory for that, is that removing the inhibitor chip from Crosshair and reuniting him with the squad will probably be the main conflict of the first season at the very least, but I don't really know how this will play out on the long term. Either the show will focus on Crosshair being the bad guy and the Bad Batch just doing stuff around the galaxy and becoming freedom fighters in the whole, but we will have to see how the rest of the episodes play out and the rest of the season plays out. And I'm also curious about the fact that what the show will offer in terms of just the familiar faces that we will see. And one of my kind of hopes or bigger hopes for the show is that we will either meet Delta or Omega Squad down the line, as that would be a huge fan service. And if you don't know that, back in season 3 or season 4 of the Clone Wars, Dave Filoni included Delta Squad in one of the episodes so that they are considered canon, if you will, and he included those characters because he really liked the game, and the Clone Wars was highly inspired by the Republic Commando video game. But to me, the most kind of intriguing aspect is the story and how the story will play out. As this season, according to IMDb, is reportedly 16 episodes long, which is of course 15 more episodes, which right off the bat is something much more than I initially expected. And this leaves a ton of possibilities when it comes to just the stories to tell and ideas to explore, which we have not necessarily seen before in this kind of format. And just a quick note on before the end of the video, I'll be making these review kind of videos for the return of the Saturday uploads, and these will probably arrive a bit earlier than the Saturday uploads previously did. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and let me know all of your thoughts regarding the Bad Batch's first episode in the comments down below. If you have enjoyed today's video, please leave a like as it helps out the channel a great deal, subscribe for more content like this one, and I will see you in the next one. And until then, remember to keep it insightful.